have another special guest. This is Bernadette, not her real name. She is a nurse somewhere in the United States of America. She would rather not tell you where. But we're going to cover a lot of probably, I don't want to put words out there, but some of these facts we're about to relate to may be disturbing for some. And she felt more comfortable just not using her real name, not using her real image, and modulating her voice because she would be at risk probably for losing her job if she, and that would be terrible. She has family and kids. So, I just gave information about you. Okay, so you are a nurse. And I know you just got off your shift. Start the interview by asking, how are you doing? How was your shift? And how are you feeling right now? Even about the broadcast and about your shift. What are you feeling right now? So I can make sure that I handle this interview properly.
Yeah, I mean, every shift that I have now is just anxiety filled, and it's thinking about, like, okay, so everything changes. Like, it seems daily, sometimes what starts out being a procedure at the beginning of a day is already changed by the time you come back the next day.
And that's a great start. If you want, take us through give us a short synopsis of your shift, because remember, we did talk and you're like, all right, I'm talking to you, I gotta go, they're about to take my temperature and I'm going into the hospital. So maybe if you can, without, again, too much at risk, explain what your day is like, even just as I know a mom, like, so that people can sort of understand your stress level about having a family coming home with corona, the virus, excuse me, and just the safety, the PPE, and whether you know that the PPE is good compared to other countries, which we've seen. So, again, give us as much detail as you're willing to.
Okay, so let's back it up to like 2 weeks ago before anything, 3 weeks ago before anything was closed down. Like, we knew that, it was already on American soil. We knew that the threat was there. So, like, there was just some people that I worked with that came back from a foreign country. Okay. And this was like, I would say 2 weeks before anything got shut down. I would say 3 weeks before anything got shut down.
Early March, we're saying?
Yeah, early March. And, like, so these people came back from a foreign country. They almost didn't get back into the country, these nurses, because of where they were coming from. They were coming from the Philippines, but they had to stop in South Korea. So that almost got like completely shut down. So when they came back, they were like, this is really bad. Um, I'm looking at this stuff from the CDC. This is before anybody was even talking about this on the news all the time. The CDC is saying to have like 2 to 3 weeks of food in your house. And I was like, are you serious? Like, but I took it seriously because I don't think the CDC would say that. And so I went out at that time, and I went out and I bought like 2 weeks of food and canned goods and all this, and I bought my toilet paper then. But
so your level is already pre-pandemic.
Building, yeah, it's building. And at this time, there's still like an abundance of supplies. There's still like, but people are starting to talk about it.
Supplies are masks, PPE, and everything that you need to guard yourself from the virus.
Yeah. So, we don't, at this point, we're just like preparing, like nurses are preparing, like family-wise. So then it starts to ramp up, and there's all these cases that start to come and come and come. So then everything, once everything got shut down, that's when it really starts to be like, oh, we're gonna run out of like everything we have, which is to go into one of these rooms. Originally, they said it was airborne. Now they're saying it's only airborne if they do an aerosolizing procedure, which an aerosolizing procedure would be like if you got a nebulizer treatment, if you were intubated, like the tube put down your throat for like mechanical ventilation, or if you were on something called a BiPAP, which is the closest you can be with it's like pressure going, forced air going down your throat through a mask without there actually being a tube down your throat. So they're saying, but then they backed it up and said, oh no, it's okay, it's just droplet. You can just wear a regular mask in the room as long as one of these aerosolizing procedures isn't occurring. So in everybody's mind at the hospital and healthcare wise, we're like, okay, is this really science based, or is it because they know that we're going to run out of these N95s? This actually was put out by the CDC, but everybody just like healthcare wise doubted it because it was too convenient. Like, what do we really know about it? I mean, as far as like some of these people on cruise ships, like, you know, they're saying like different times for what it can live on, like a piece of plastic, or you know how long it can stay in the air. They're saying 3 hours.
Let me stop you and ask you a question. Two questions. One is, I forget what kind of nurse you are. RN. I forget where.
RN.
Okay. When you're getting your information, how are you getting your information? Is it coming through email? Someone talking to you personally? How do you get updated each day about how you're handling the crisis?
It's an email or a text from your boss. But there might be multiple texts in one day or multiple emails that change like the original procedure that you started the day with. So everything is like completely fluid, and it just adds to the fear of the environment, I guess.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure people knew where you're getting information from and your title at the hospital. So you were in the middle of where your story is you're in the middle of, we're not sure if they're telling us the correct stuff. They might be telling us in our mind this because they're trying to not run out of PPE. Is where we're going right now. Okay.
Yeah. Because okay, so there's various levels of isolation. Like a contact isolation is like you would just wear a gown in the room and gloves. A contact isolation would be for somebody who has like a gastrointestinal bug, or MRSA, which would be like staph that's resistant to certain penicillins. Like a droplet isolation is like a flu isolation, like a regular influenza, meaning that it's it's in the air, you know, it comes out in droplets, and you don't want to breathe in that air, so you'd wear a mask in that kind of room.
So let me stop you again. Is the hospital, is there just a tone of fear, or are you so focused on what you have to do you're just charging through, or do everybody have a conversation? Are people looking at each other like, what the fuck is going?
No, that is exactly what it is. It's a complete like fear. It's like I just worked the last 2 days, two 12-hour shifts, a Saturday and a Sunday, and literally my person that I sat next to, that's all we did was talk about like our fears about everything and how we think it's being mismanaged, and like so like I work on a floor that has 32 beds. So it's not like an ICU. It's where you would go either before you went to ICU or after you came out of an ICU. So
Intermediary ICU still is where you work?
yeah, intermediate care unit. Or some places call it like a progressive care unit. So, you know,
I don't know if you want to get into this right away. So if I'm throwing you off base, but it's just thoughts that we've talked about earlier, and you don't have to answer these questions. So you're not unionized.
no.
So you have no shop steward on the floor, anybody advocating for your safety, right?
Nope.
And if you wanted to unionize at this hospital you work at, what would happen? What do you think might happen to you?
You'd probably be fired. if they caught wind of it.
Right. So you are working in what you think with no advocate and with no hope of unionizing, and your life is on the line, as well as, God forbid, your families. So the stress that you are under is unbelievable. Now, on top of all of this, you told me that you are working for a Catholic hospital.
Yes.
A non-profit Catholic hospital.
Yep.
So a non-profit Catholic hospital is making their nurses fear starting a union. And this is probably not a question you can answer, but I'm surprised that, a nurses union doesn't come in every once in a while and go, hey, you sure you guys don't want a union?
Here's what I would say. I don't think it's just specific to that specific hospital, or to any specific, this region. I'm not giving anything away by saying it's in the Midwest. I don't think.
You're not giving away by saying right to work. All right, I'm sorry.
No, that I know of, I don't believe that there's any nurses unions in the Midwest. I know that there is in California, but
I don't think Bernadette. Don't say that lightly. I would think that a majority of Americans believe that all nurses are in unions because you have a powerful unions. So they just assume, all these nurses are being taken care of. And what Bernadette just said was, this is not the case. In the Midwest, nurses are working under horrible working conditions and have no advocate.
Well, actually, I take that back. I know there's a couple. I want to say there might be one or two in Chicago, only because there was some strikes in Chicago, and I don't know if it was.
No, but you're saying people are missing.
The majority of nurses in the Midwest are not in a union.
And that's very scary. And I don't know if you want to, again, since no one knows who you are, and this is up to you, Bernadette, what you make an hour currently as a nurse, putting your life on the line daily.
Okay, so I will say that I'm a newer nurse. I'm a nurse just under a year. So as a nurse just under a year, I make $27 an hour base pay, and then if I work nights, I get an extra $4 an hour, and if I work a weekend shift, I get an extra $2 on top of the $4 for the nights.
So you can almost imagine that anybody who else is working at that hospital that is below you, which I'm sure there's tons of people who are below an RN working at that hospital, they are all making much less than you are.
Tax, yeah, CNAs.
And all probably putting their lives on the line as much as you are every time you enter that hospital, putting your life on the line. So no one's getting any hazard pay.
There's absolutely no hazard pay. We were given an email saying we were not getting any hazard pay, we were not getting any crisis pay, and it's really a kick in the face when you hear that stores are getting crisis pay, people all these workers are getting crisis pay.
I'm getting hazard pay, so I'm getting paid time and a half right now. I'm in a union though. I don't know whether that helped or not. So anyway, I interrupted you. So you're not getting hazard pay. You're not in a union. You don't really have a strong advocate. Every day your life is on the line. Everybody at your hospital, their life is on the line. Nobody's getting hazard pay at your hospital. No one's reaching out to say, hey guys, maybe time to unionize here. This could be a good time to maybe we make some demands because everybody's afraid that they're going to lose their job. So you may lose your job, you may lose your life, and you're going into work every day with just stress upon stress upon stress, multiple stress levels here.
Multiple stress levels, yes. So let me walk you through so originally when this whole thing started, you were going to get one mask. If you worked and you had these patients, you were going to get one mask for that shift, okay? Now, this is a mask that is supposed to be used one time. One time of taking it off. One time of putting it on and one time of taking it off. And originally it was one N95 per shift, okay? And then you could have as many like of the surgical masks, which are what you see like in, a doctor show. And then it went to, oh, you have to wear this mask for 3 shifts, okay? And then it went to, you have to wear this mask for 5 shifts. And now, what I just learned today is that I now have to wear this mask for 5 shifts, okay? And then when I've worn my mask for 5 shifts, I have to turn it in to a bin, okay? I'm gonna like, my name, it's gonna be identified to me somehow, okay? And then they're going to take them from this bin and they're going to UV sterilize them, okay? Which has absolutely no research behind it. After I've already worn this for 5 shifts, so for 5 shifts I've worn it. Now, I might not have necessarily had it on all 12 hours, but I'm taking it on, I'm taking it off to go into these rooms. So now I'm going to put it in this thing, this bucket, along with everybody else's mask in this bucket, and they're going to sterilize them. And then I'm going to get it back for 5 more shifts. And then it's going to go back to the bucket, and it's going to be sterilized another time, and then I'm going to wear it 5 more times. So 15 shifts and 2 sterilizations, and then the mask is okay to throw away.
And you said it's even worse because you said you were taking the mask and like putting it in a paper bag, right?
That's the other thing. And this is not. I've seen posts. This is not specific to the hospital I work at. I've seen posts where there's pictures of, and we're talking like either a paper bag or a gift bag, so that you can. Now, the reason that's the gift bag is so that you can take the elastic from the mask and hang the elastic over the gift bag handle as not to contaminate the side that is getting potential droplets all over it of COVID-19.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but currently, or you can even give us a run-up of how many patients you have with COVID-19, and has anybody from your hospital contracted the virus that you're aware of?
Just 3 weeks ago, probably like, I would say about 3 weeks ago, we had a couple cases, but this was when the testing was taking 7 days to come back or longer. So some of these people, before they were tested, they were in rooms where nobody was even wearing PPE into the room. So then that puts like fear into the person, like, was I exposed? We don't even know if this person's positive. You're sitting there waiting to find out, like, does this person have it? So, and then like one night, I swear, I think it was like probably already after like things were shut down and schools were shut down. Like, I think there was 3 people that came, and it was just like boom, 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 and it was like half of the whole unit was filled with like these kind of patients.
When you say half, how many was that?
Well, I mean, our unit is like 32 beds, and it wasn't like completely half, but we were trying to keep them on one side. Because we have like, there's kind of like 2 hallways, so we were trying to keep all of the people that we thought might have it on one hallway, and all the people that we kind of like didn't think have it because they had no symptoms in another hallway. So it went from like having like maybe like one or two people that we were considering to like it was just like boom, boom, boom. Like probably then we had 10. And then every day we get an email now saying we have this many rule outs that we're waiting for the test to come back. We have this many people who are positive. We have this many people who came back negative. Now the tests are coming back within like 24 hours. Most of the time within 12. So that's much better.
So right now, what is your? Can you give a rough estimate of what the caseload is at your hospital?
Okay, so that's the other thing that's kind of shifted. So originally they opened like a unit, and it wasn't even a unit that was going to be big enough. So then they decided, and it really wasn't conducive to like keeping an eye on these patients. Like it didn't have windows to be able to look into the room without actually having to go in, because that's the other thing. If you have to go in there every time something's beeping or you hear something, it's better to be able to like have like a room with a window that you can just look in to like not have to gear up, and waste potential. This was when we were still getting it, when we weren't having to wear the same mask for 15 shifts. So they ended up scrapping the first idea, the first unit that they made. Then what would happen is we would take my unit would get all the people that they didn't know that they had already swabbed to like that they were trying to figure out do they have it or not. If they were positive, they went to this unit. If they were negative, then they stayed with us. Okay. So then they decided, okay, that's not a good idea. We have to do something different because these rooms don't have windows. So then they decided to take it to another floor. But it's still not all contained on that floor because now they're keeping some of the people on our floor. It's now in two different spots in the hospital.
So putting more people at risk. There's two that have COVID-19 patients, but
well, there's actually three because you also, when these people go south, then they end up in the ICU.
Is there an emergency room as well in your hospital? I mean,
yeah.
So would you say to people out there, and this is just me brainstorming, if you have something that doesn't require ER attention?
Oh, this is what I would tell anybody. Like, I literally said this the other night that my leg would literally have to be hanging by a piece of skin for me to go into the ER at this point. Like,
if you have a twisted ankle, you have a history of bloody noses, or you're coming to the think twice about why you're coming to the ER, good chance you're leaving with COVID-19.
There's a very good chance you're leaving with COVID-19, and this is not a time to decide, hey, I want to quit drinking, because let me tell you, just keep drinking. Because no nurse has time to deal with somebody who is detoxing right now. Like,
and that's why liquor stores are essential, because
in my mind, you do not even know how essential they are. Because if everybody's, I am not, I work on a unit and we get a lot of detoxes. So if liquor stores closed, we would be screwed times two.
Yeah, people don't realize that's why liquor stores are essential, because people would go through major withdrawals and die. So they need to have their medicine.
Please keep taking your medicine.
So I know also that there's probably different struggles for you during this. I want to get to some more issues that may be a little more for this audience. You also are a Bernie supporter. You also must be, I just like stating that so people know where you stand politically, but it must be frustrating for you to know that there's 14 governors, and again, you can address this in any way you feel comfortable, but there are 14 governors allowing religious people to continue to congregate. And it must be ironic when you're working for a religious holiday and you know that 14 states are allowing church services to continue.
Well, but I would have to say that, like, the one thing, the Catholic Church has shut it all down, like, from what I've seen, but it seems to be these, like, evangelical, like, um, I mean, I just read an article the other day that some lady could go to church because she is
Covered by the blood of
Jesus Christ. I mean, come on. I mean, you're going to be covered in COVID-19 with all the singing and everything that goes on in church. And you know what I feel like? And I will tell you that any nurse would say this right now. That, you know what? If you are stupid enough to go to church right now with mass people, just don't expect. I mean, are you really going to come to get? I mean,
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but obviously, again, that people don't understand. I can get pushback from so many different people. I don't, and I've told you that my niece has is a nurse and she has contracted the virus, so it's very serious, very personal for me. And I'm very frustrated with everything that I see, from Trump's lack of a lockdown, from governor's lack of a lockdown, religious people still congregating. But what, as you, as a nurse, just on a personal level, what do you see going on? It doesn't matter whether it's in where you live, your state, you're on TV. What frustrates you the most? Because I don't want to put it on you that, you know, my whole thing is I'm frustrated with obviously organized religion and their refusal to stop congregating. But just there might be small little things.
I mean, that's one of my pet peeves. The whole thing with the people on the beach, like, literally just boiled my blood, because I'm like, every single one of these people is going to go back from Florida to whatever state and just infect how many other people. Or, like, I guess another thing that really pisses me off is the fact, this is before they even started talking about, like, the public wearing masks. You would go to a store, and this was probably 2 weeks ago, when there wasn't even that many cases. I mean, I know there was a lot of cases, they just weren't detected yet because they didn't have the testing up and going. But I went into Walmart and I see some douche, and that's the only word I can use for it, with an N95 mask, and all I'm thinking of is, that is a mask that I could use, so I didn't have to wear mine multiple times.
Yeah, people don't understand that it's they're trying to prevent that from happening, right? You should be donating your PPE to hospitals. Is it and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Bernadette, but is it even more frustrating for you as a nurse, an essential worker, as you're watching this primary and you're watching everything go down? Not only are obviously people who you would go, okay, you know, people are going to do stupid stuff. You know, stupid people exist. You're okay with that. But when you see the primary again, we worked together in 2000. I'm outing you, but 2015, 2016, and now you're watching this all again. But the very fact that they're orchestrating and putting Biden up there again is sort of putting everybody at risk. The people that you are taking care of, the sick and the poor, see it every day, and you know that the DNC is putting up the candidate that's worse, is not qualified to handle a pandemic, let alone Medicare for all. He says he's going to veto it. So does it make it worse? Does it make your stress level? I mean, you have all these variables going on, and then you have to watch this again, this happen all over again. Oh my God, they're going to put Biden up and Trump's going to win again. I've seen this before, and I'm an essential worker, and nobody seems to give a fuck at all, excuse my language, about me.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the sentiment, because, I mean, if this does not change anything, what does that say? Like, literally, if this event does not change something in the world, in the United States, then there's nothing that ever can. There's nothing that ever can. Like, if we go forward and do the same thing when this is all over and go back to our normal lives and just say, oh, well, that really sucked, but now it's over, and now I'm just gonna go drink my margarita, or
It's the country's short-term memory that you know is going to happen as soon as this is over. We're all going to go back to the status quo, and that's why when we worked together on the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2015, 2016, we both felt a little guilty in 2020. Well, I did. I don't want to put it on you, but we were both very busy, and we were not involved with the campaign. And almost this pandemic has released us from that guilt, saying, there's nothing I can fucking do. If this pandemic doesn't shift people to care, one, about nurses, to care that they unionize and they're being paid and they have the right equipment, but also at the same time they're propping up a Biden, then how do we expect change? What do we do? Do we go on a hunger strike? Do you have to
but see, this is where they have you, because I thought about this the other day. You right now you can do nothing, because to strike, I mean, you have to have mass people in the streets. You can't have mass people in the streets because that spreads infection. So
but also too, as a nurse, you say, I can't go on. This is a crisis. I can't go on strike right now. These people are in crisis.
Well, this is what I will tell you. I mean, this has been discussed where I work, that if the PPE runs out completely, if there's nothing, there is not one nurse that I've talked to that plans on walking into that. It's not happening.
And you don't know, as a nurse, whether our American PPE is.
Oh, yes. Oh, it's complete shit. I mean, I'm going to tell you, it is literally like, we had better gowns, but now those have all been, they're gone. So now we are literally wearing it. It's not a trash bag, but it is of the same material that is a trash bag, and they're even saying we might have to reuse those, and it is not like when you see on these in Italy or in China, they have like a full bodysuit, a jumpsuit looking thing. No, this is like something I'm slipping over my scrubs. Okay, I'm tying at the waist, and it's basically like a dress that's, my legs are out, like the scrub part of my legs are out, and it's something that you can pull off, literally, like, pull off.
It must be frustrating for you, because our perspective has always been, and why we used to work together, is that we never hear the truth on regular media. I've heard some doctors tell some horror stories, and obviously yours is a horror story. And if you had your chance, if this wasn't if you were interviewed by CNN, again, it would be a risk for you, right? You couldn't even do an interview with CNN or MSNBC, because it would be such a risk. But if you were able to put on a mask, able to modulate your voice, and you were able to speak out, which you're voiceless, you can't speak out. And if you could talk to Bernie, or you could talk to the press, or whoever your rage is at, what would you fucking say? If you could give me your worst at your level, at your rage level.
I mean, how did we get to this point? Everybody said, which I have never been of this opinion, but everybody says we're the greatest country on earth, and we're the richest country on earth. How do we get in a situation where we don't even, we don't have any way around it? There's nothing. Once it's gone, it's gone. Like, now I'm reading articles that they're saying that people that are selling it, like, now they want the highest bidder. So if somebody can't send them a check of whatever the ridiculous amount is, in a 2 to 3 hour window, they sell it to the next person for a higher rate. I'm literally trying to find my own PPE that, I literally bought a helmet that looks like something that I would wear into a riot. with a plastic shield in the front, and I bought it. I don't even know how it came to be that I was able to get it, but I got it for $30, and then when I checked again, because a couple of people asked me at work about it, it was up to $70. It's a piece of plastic with attached to a helmet. Yes, I mean I work with nurses, or I know nurses that work at the different hospitals, and it's always this misinformation. Either nobody knows what's going on, or it changes the same as like the hospital that I work at. It's either nobody knows what's going on, or it changes. So it's pretty consistent. So we're expecting to have like peak like maybe within the next month. So we're not even there yet. This is just leading up to.
You're not close to the apex.
No, we don't feel that we are. So really, that's like kind of what we were talking about tonight. Tonight is like we we're not there yet. So when we do get there, because here's what's really going to be when it's really going to get shitty. Because right now, the patients that we do have, they are, still with themselves. They're not like dementia nursing home patients. When that starts coming, and we have to be in the rooms because these people are incontinent and we have to be cleaning them up, that's when it's really going to be bad, because that's going to be more time in the room. They're probably going to have to be restrained, because they're probably like, when older people have infections, viruses, they can be like out of their mind.
And that's why, when we were asking you the question, is this like this at all hospitals, we could also let imagine that this is like this at all nursing homes. Any nursing home that has had a patient, a person in the nursing home who gets COVID-19, this is all happening there. They're all at risk. They're changing these patients. They're taking care of these, and they're all being extremely underpaid. And again, this is sometimes they're Medicaid facilities, so there's a baseline, but still, as a nurse, that everybody in the healthcare industry is probably being underpaid dramatically and drastically, and particularly right now with no hazard pay. So anybody in the healthcare industry who's in a nursing home or in a hospital is not being paid the way they should be, and certainly not being protected the way. And what you're saying to us right now is there's a good chance in a month from now, there's a good chance it may happen that you guys are completely overloaded. And you'll have FEMA trucks, you'll have refrigerated trucks and morgues, and you won't be able to save a lot of these people.
That's what it's going to boil down to, because right now our ICU is already full. So, and if, let me put it this way, the people that haven't been intubated, meaning that they have mechanical ventilation, there's only been one person that has come off of that. Everybody else has either died or they are still tubed.
And that's what I was going to say to you. So if someone comes in, you get COVID-19, how long is their hospital stay? How long? They're guaranteed they're going to be there for 14 days at minimum, right?
No, because we're running with the assumption that if you get to a point where you don't need to be on oxygen, or you're stable enough to go home, then you need to finish that 14 days at your house. And what I would say is, don't come to the hospital if you think you have COVID-19, but you're not short of breath. Like, if you're getting to that point, then definitely, come in. But if you know what, I might have COVID-19.
In a state of panic or anxiety, try to control yourself, because if you come into the ER, you come in thinking you have COVID-19, there's a good chance you're leaving with it. There's a probably 80% chance you're leaving.
But that's just the other thing that I would add too, is in my mind and in a lot of people's minds, like nurse-wise, we feel like they should be testing every single person that comes in and that is admitted, because
they're ticking time bombs. They're in different floors and there's just ticking time bombs.
we know that somebody can, be shedding the virus for up to 14 days, incubating it. So here you have people coming in that they have no symptoms, But who's to say that that person doesn't have it? Now I walked in and out of that room without anything because let's say they came in for something related to their heart. Okay? But so, and this is something they could leave and we would never even know. And we've walked in, and so I feel like every single person, but there's like a cap on the amount of tests that they can do. I don't know if it's a state thing or it's the amount of like swabs they have or the amount of equipment they have to do the test. But there is a cap on testing, so they are not. And I feel like South Korea, I think they like tested, and I think that's the only way you can contain it because you could be walking around, okay, have it, shedding virus. Maybe you don't even show symptoms, or maybe you get some mild form of it. But in the meantime, I pick it up from you, or someone else, your nurse picks it up from you, and it could be a very bad case of it. Now, the other thing I would say is like, it seems to be that men are not faring as well with this thing. Women have a better prognosis, and what else? If you have diabetes, that's very bad with this thing. If you have any, existing lung condition, if you're a smoker, also, if you have an existing heart condition too, like even if your lungs aren't even involved, they're going to become like the fact that that you already have a heart issue, you're going to have issues.
But I think the saddest part of this is the fact that you don't feel, and we're going to make sure that we do everything to protect your identity and everything, but the fact that you feel voiceless, and I don't know how many nurses are out there or any healthcare worker feels voiceless, that if they speak out and say, we're desperate. We had that one doctor in Seattle that me and my producer Christina are aware of. He spoke out and they fired him. There's no doctors union as well. So the fear, all these fears, and the fact that you're voiceless and you have no advocate and your life is on the line and you're afraid to speak out because you're going to get fired for saying you're not protecting me. I don't feel safe. You don't care about me. America doesn't, people don't care about me. No one seems to give a fuck in this country.
And something else I would add to that too is, and I'm not trying to throw doctors under the bus, I'm not doing that, but I know what you're doing. I know that there's a lot of good doctors out there, and I know that there's a lot of doctors that have died from it. But from what I'm seeing, and I'm not an emergency room nurse, but what I'm seeing is if doctors know that this patient has COVID-19, they do everything in their power to not have to go into a room. I've seen doctors call a patient on the phone that was in the room to tell them that they have this. Yet I'm supposed to walk in there multiple times, and you cannot even go in there.
And that just raises the anxiety and the stress, because you're like, well, I know they know.
Certain rooms have cameras, and then all of our rooms have like a window. Like we have camera rooms just because if we have like a confused patient, or it's not like, we can keep an eye on the patient, like we can't like have a video, unless we FaceTime them, which we're really not, not supposed to do. But
and the other thing that's, if we just go back to the wage, a lot of times when you work for a nonprofit, their take would be, well, we're a nonprofit and we have to squeeze every dime here. We're not here for profit. We're here to do the Lord's work. So, and the Lord's work don't pay. You should just cover yourself in Jesus' blood.
I will not cover myself in Jesus' blood. If I have to, I'm not walking into a room. If it comes to a point where there's no masks and no gowns, I'm going to have to quit. Just for the simple fact, I have a family. I'm not going to. It's not worth it.
So, what's your feeling on how we would control this? It's contact tracing, right? But that's not happening.
No, it's not happening at all. Like, I think there needs to be mass testing because of the incubation period. There needs to be, I'm specifically thinking about this one case where we were trying to figure out if the patient had it, and I'm like, well, is your spouse? This was at a point when we didn't know if she was positive or not. Is your spouse self quarantining? No, he's still going out. And I'm telling this to my my charge nurse, and she's like, well, there's nothing we can do. And I'm like, but why not? Like, I don't. This is how you're going to contain it. Like, if you watch these contagion movies or these movies where there's a pandemic, what do? They find the source, they go to all the contacts. That's not happening.
And again, when we talk about that, it invokes the problem that everybody had with that's with the federal government. At some point, martial law, the National Guard, or someone's going to have. I know in some state they're ankle bracing people who are testing positive for COVID-19. They're ankle bracing them.
That's an excellent idea. I think at this point, with where we're at and what I'm seeing in New York, what's coming out of New York, we don't want it to get to that point everywhere. The system cannot handle it. So the only way, in my mind, to have any possible way to control it is, and I know this is not going to be a popular opinion, but from a healthcare perspective, the only way to contain it is to shut it down, and to shut it down like they did in China. I watched a couple videos where there was checkpoints, and there was not even a human meeting these people at the checkpoint. There would be a drone that they would have to scan a QR code to tell them directions of what to do. So there was no human contact.
So like shut the fuck up. It should be stay the fuck at home at this point.
Stay the fuck at home. It's Sam. I don't know if you've seen the clip of Samuel L. Jackson reading. Okay, so he has this video from a long time ago where he reads a book called Go the Fuck to Sleep. And he has now since changed it to Stay the Fuck at Home. So you'll have to.
If there was advice that you could give, or what can people do? Here's the question. So I'm always brainstorming on my Facebook Live, on my crazy page. What do you think the answer is? What can I, as a person, do? Can I petition? Can I make phone calls? Can I donate? How can I advocate for nurses, essential workers like yourself, or anybody who works in a hospital or a nursing home? What am I to do? How am I to fight for you?
Just don't go out if you don't have to. Obviously everybody needs food. So just go to the store, and I don't want to say stock up because people hoard, and then there's that problem. But
you're not giving me a lot of hope here. But
don't go to the store and get a couple days worth of food and then go back out because you're just you're re-exposing yourself. There's lines at the store. I don't know.
I hate to bring this up, but it might be a good way to close. So on top of this, you have the DNC and you have the primary. But I also know you on a personal level, and I know that Trump must infuriate you.
Okay, this is a very good place to end. Trump, I always start to watch the press conference. Let's put it to you this way. I always start to watch the press conference. He always has a few, what's the word I'm looking for?
Reasonable
things that he says at the beginning. And then he just, it's literally a spit in the face to every person that is doing this work when he goes off on tirades about how these governors need to kiss his,
It's a fucking COVID-19 spit in the face.
It is a COVID-19 spit in the face. There's no other way to. Yeah.
Nurses, doctors, and everybody you work with on the front line, he is spitting in your face. And again, I don't want to make this a curse-filled.
Well, let's put it to you this way. When he said, well, I don't see how they're going through so much PPE, I mean, I think they must be stealing it.
Well, because he's from New York, and New York things go out the back door, but it's like, you don't even, at this point, you don't say that shit.
Like millions of millions. He thinks because how could you go through so much? Well, what you're supposed to be doing is taking it off every time and not reusing it. So of course, if you've got all these sick people and you have to go in and out the room, of course the numbers are gonna go up.
And possibly he's playing to his base again. You know, he's constantly playing to his base, which is just killing fucking people. It's not a spit in the face. He's literally got blood. He's got not Jesus Christ's blood on his hand. He has blood on his hands. The way he's handling this leadership wise, and for a nurse to have to go home every day and deal with the family and deal with the fact that she's underpaid, underprotected, and then hear this fucking president speak the way he does, and then have people still support him vehemently, particularly in the land that you live in.
Yes.
It has to be one of the most hopeless feelings in the world. And where do we get hope from, you know, at this point?
And what really scares me is I think he could probably still get reelected at this point, which is an utter
disgrace.
Because in some people's mind, oh, they'll say he handled it correctly, or he gave me a check for $1,200, or, you know, whatever their reasoning is, or the man can do no wrong, or he's a good businessman.
Again, you have to understand the stress level that Bernadette is under. Underpaid, underprotected, listening to a president not show leadership and live in a state or an area that is heavily believes in this guy. So this Bernadette is the stress that she's feeling on a daily basis, and that if it and for it not to touch other people and shift them to fight for her, makes her put her hands up and go, then what? Then what? If a pandemic, then what? And that's on you. That's on everybody who isn't fighting hard enough for Bernadette and everybody else who's working on the front lines. And I want to say, you know that you're my hero. I know that I forget to tell you that, but I wanted to make sure that I told you face to face that you are my hero in so many different ways that you know. I really respect everything you're doing, and good luck. I know we're going to stay in touch. Thank you for doing this today. I know that your schedule is insane and this is a big risk for you, and you know I appreciate it. So thanks so much, Bernadette.
Peace.
Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. This is Real Progressives in Action. Please take action for everybody on the front line. Be a real progressive. Take action. Fight for Bernadette and everybody else on the front line. Thanks for listening tonight. See you guys soon.